right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Last Call Podcast, Week 10 edition. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, co-host Dave Eddy. What is up, man?
Oh, thank God for Hail Marys.
Yeah. Ooh. A lot of us got pretty lucky on that one. I mean, I don't play quite the DFS that you and a lot of people do, but I did double up everything, thankfully, thanks to that one last play. I went a little bonkers with it, but yeah, felt good, man. Felt really good.
We did it. That was a $400 swing for me, Joe.
That's way more than mine.
Yeah,
more than mine.
That was. I needed that one.
Yeah, I'd say so, man. So, all right, we are at halftime of the Ravens-Pats game, so let's move into our Week 10 reaction here, and we'll lead the way here with you can jump right into it, man.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Bucs and Panthers. Tom Brady just refuses to have back-to-back bad games, so he went for 341, 3 touchdowns through the air, and his young ass even ran one in. And then Ronald Jones had a big 98-yard touchdown run, so he ended up finishing with 192 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was a monster play, man. Thankfully, I wrote in the Slack channel. I was like, Rojo's gonna break the slate, and you were like, well, good thing he's not owned very much. And I was like, oh, well, all right.
Nah, so that works. Funny story. I actually had a decent amount of Fournette in this game. I kind of thought that he was going to be the lead back, and
I almost played him in a bunch in both lineups that I put together. I had him as one of my options because I thought the same thing. Yep. He's been getting more and more involved, but man, kind of shockingly actually, because you see Rojo fumble early.
Right, and as a Fournette owner, I was like, "Oh, right, all right."
Like game time, guys. Like it's
nope.
It's Fournette day. Nope. 23 touches for Rojo. And I believe, I don't have the stats up in front of me. I meant to write it down. I think Fournette got 8. It was just
sounds about right. Yeah.
What the hell happened? It was kind of crazy, man.
That was crazy when he had that big run. Because they're numbers 27 and 28. So when he took off, I thought that was Fournette back there for a second. I was like, oh yeah. And then I saw the 7 and I went, fuck.
Well, because you're used to seeing Fournette wear 27. So, it always screws with me. I'm always like, oh, he's doing good. And then it's like, oh, man. But whatever. It's funny. I just dumped Fournette in a Dynasty League for a second-round pick for next year's draft. My team's sort of tanking. They're all injured. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to give up on these has-been running backs at this point. Not that Fournette's, totally dead, but, he's not going to be good for, much longer. So I was ready to bail on him. And, So, interesting stuff with this game. I know we talked about Brady, obviously. That was sort of expected. I don't know if, you expected 341 and 3 and a rushing touchdown type of thing. But, you expected him to come out and this Tampa Bay team just ball out. Kind of, the Panthers were just kind of ho-hum, nothing really to write home about. DJ Moore finally had a good game. Mike Davis was, is it time to just be no more Mike Davis? I know he was 4K today on DFS, so he was an automatic play, man. But, he didn't help anybody, even at 4K. It was bad.
Yeah, but it's not fair, though. That's a tough defense, especially against the run. So,
he wasn't good the last couple games before CMC came back either, man. So I don't know. It's gonna have to be a real tasty matchup for me to play Mike Davis, even if CMC is out again. I think, and even then, it might not be an automatic plug and play. But yeah,
we'll have to see. CMC is gonna be back, so
yeah,
it's kind of a moot point. But it would just depend on his matchup next week. If CMC were to be out, if he had a decent matchup, he's going to get the volume. I would still play him for DFS purposes.
Yeah, we got
it is what it is.
We got somebody on Periscope asking me, is Leonard Fournette droppable? I don't think so. I think he's going to be too involved in the offense still.
Yeah, I agree.
So
All right, so the ugliest game of the day, Dan, Texans and Browns, one that actually, without the weather, had the potential to be one of the, more fantasy relevant games of the day, but it was anything but. Browns won 10-7.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest takeaway from this, I think, just because we can sit there and talk about the numbers, but, the weather just made that game so it's going to be very much a blip on the radar. So what I'd say is, Chubb came back. Chubb looked great. I think that it's funny how when Chubb is there and playing well, that Hunt is
plays
better.
Way better. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but I mean, it's a thing, man. Like you got to admit it's a thing.
It totally is a thing. And so like this almost helps Hunt more, in my opinion. They both could be top 15 backs going forward the rest of the way, in my opinion, if not even top 10 with how bad the running back position is this season. So yeah, I mean, and they're gonna go through the running game the rest of the season. I mean, that's just what they're gonna do with both these guys healthy and OBJ out. So plug these guys in every week. I mean, they both had 19 carries and both over 100 yards. Chubb just got the touchdown. So
yeah, the one thing from the Texans side though that I did think was weird was, I know the weather wasn't great and all, but I didn't expect Duke Johnson to get one target today. I actually thought the weather was going to be more into his favor. Figured he'd get some more carries, but he was still going to get those targets. One target, didn't even catch a ball, and that's his bread and butter. So I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Watson doesn't really like to dump the ball off to his running backs, and maybe that's just me forgetting something. But I know like with Lamar Miller there, that used to be kind of a thing. But he's got those 3 receivers that he likes. He's got those 2 tight ends that he likes. So he tries to push it downfield to them, and today obviously that just wasn't going to work. So yeah, I agree with you. I thought there would be more Duke Johnson, dump the ball off, but I mean, I know Duke was cheap on DFS. I didn't love playing him there just because of the weather. But I mean, you had to hope the volume was going to be there. Maybe he could fall into the end zone. It didn't happen, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So your Washington football team against these nutsacks, nutsacks 30. Joe's team 27.
Not my team right
Alex
now, man.
Smith, man. I tell you, anyone who plays against the Lions, you can just chalk up a career day.
But he didn't score.
It was still 390 yards, man. I mean, we'll take that. McKissick, who I talked about on our Sunday School podcast. He fell in the end zone for a rushing touchdown. So that was a pleasant surprise. But 7 catches for 43 yards. Of course, Terry does his thing, 7 for 95 there. You got what
Terry is matchup and QB proof at this point, man. He is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The run game was doing pretty well for Washington today. Gibson, neither one went off, but they both, like, overall the run game was looking pretty good, both over 40 yards. Gibson got in the end zone twice. The reason why a lot of people liked McKissick was in the PPR and like on DK, right? He gets all those PPR points. He's 7 receptions, and that's exactly why you were playing him.
Absolutely.
Alex Smith just likes to
trash.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Alex Smith just looks his way a ton. I mean, you saw it, like, absolutely. He didn't even bother. It was just like 3-step drop, dump it off to McKissick. It was like, are you even looking downfield?
But that's why you play him.
So
Alex Smith really boosts his value, I think.
Yeah, absolutely does. So I'll let you talk about the Lions side here, because I think this is a big talking point.
Well, yeah, I mean, Deandre Smith finally, they took him out of his diapers and actually, named him officially the starter. Whoopie-doo. But, I mean, he did get a nice workload. He had 16 catches. That would have been nice. He had 16 carries for 81 yards, caught 5 balls for 68 yards and a touch. So that was pretty good. I mean, he looked good, too. It was more than just, the numbers were nice. So I am hopeful now.
Incredible.
Yep. So I am hopeful now, though, that he is now a thing. I don't know that he's like, top 10, top 15 back or anything like that. But he's got that potential, especially if he's going to touch the ball. 20 times a game. So
Yeah, I mean
that's good that he's finally getting in there.
he got by far the majority of the touches out of all the running backs there. He looked fantastic. He looked dynamic. I mean, look, the Washington defense is nothing to sneeze about, especially the run game. And he made them look bad. He was juking them all over the place. He was jumping over them. It was pretty incredible. So yeah, I mean, I'm all in, man. I'm all in with Swift. Like we've kind of said it. Like, is he going to be this year's Miles Sanders? And it's kind of looking that way now at this point. If they're really going to do this, if they're really going to name him the starter and lean on him, I'll see why not, especially with Galladay, still, hurt. Who knows how long he's out. Marvin Jones is – I mean, look, he had a good game today, but he's still an up-and-down player to me, man. Like,
absolutely.
He's hard to trust. And so – it's funny that dynasty team that I'm in, I have him and I started him because I'm going to set my best lineup regardless, but I'm actually kind of trying to lose. But Marvin Jones and D-Hop pretty much won me the damn week. Didn't mean for that to happen. The rest of my team tanked, but the guy I played sucked. So, it's whatever. But, yeah, man, I'm all in on Swift going forward. He's 100% trustworthy for me going forward. He's in the circle of trust.
Sure. So next up we had, even though it wasn't an upset, I'd say still the biggest surprise of the day, Packers 24 and the Jags 20. This was, I think the Jags were ahead for
a good portion of the
maybe
game.
they were, but it was at least close. Robinson had a great day, which you were hoping for. You were just hoping that it wasn't going to get out of hand to where he would still get his touches. So he had 23 carries for 109 yards, so that was awesome. For the Packers, though, the weird thing, Aaron Jones didn't really seem like he was there today. I mean, when you look at the numbers, he had 13 carries, 46 yards. He had 5 catches for 49. So not absolutely atrocious, but definitely not what you expected, for him to do against the Jags.
No, definitely not. That was, he was like the number one guy I was plugging in as a running back, for DFS this week. And, if you owned him in season long, obviously you're plugging him in. And you were expecting big things from Aaron Jones today against that horrendous Jags defense, especially on the run. It just wasn't there. They used Jamal Williams a lot. I don't know if it's one of those things where they brought Jones back 1 week too early, and maybe he was a little sore, a little hurt still from the week before. I mean, he got 20 touches last week, I think, so it was close to the same amount of work. But I mean, he got in the end zone last week, I believe, so that was a much better result. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to think with Jones. I mean, we'll have to wait to see what the report comes out, see if he's, still banged up, see if he's still questionable, whatnot. But I mean, yeah, this game was definitely a shocker to me. Like, I was expecting the Packers to just steamroll them and then just lean on Aaron Jones is really what it came down to. But it didn't happen that way. They had to pass a lot to kind of keep up, not really keep up, but just kind of keep pace with them, right? I mean, it was just kind of a back and forth type thing. Adams scored. MVS had a big play, 4 for 149. The receivers for the Jags didn't really do much. I mean, Cole got the touchdown, but 5 for 47. Shark kind of
took a punt return back too.
Yeah. Oh, that was him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Shark, I was kind of hoping for bigger things from Shark today after last week's, blow up performance and against this, this Packers defense, missing their top corner too. So I was hoping Shark could kind of take advantage, especially, game script said they were going to get down big and pass. And so you were thinking Shark, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. And James Robinson was heavily involved. And so, Shark owners were disappointed. So I think you just chalk it up to whatever at this point. Yeah,
what was interesting, at least to me, I was fairly confident that Mike Davis would end up for being the highest owned MME player for DFS, and it was Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones actually was more highly owned than Mike Davis was. So I don't know what that means. I was surprised.
It was a smash spot, dude. It really was. The Jags defense is terrible. The Bucks defense is not. So I get it. Totally get it. So
yeah. So let's. I'll finish up here on one more ugly game here. Giants 27, Eagles 17, and That battle of the NFC least over here. Nobody wants to win that division,
No,
man.
no, nobody does.
I don't even. I mean, it was nice that Sanders was back. He had 15 carries,
He looked
85
good,
yards.
man. He looked really
Yep.
good. Unfortunately, he
Only
didn't get in the
problem,
end zone, but
yeah,
he looked really, really good.
Clement and Scott both managed to get themselves into the end zone. So, if you were playing Sanders, that was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
But for the Giants, it's interesting to see Wayne Gallman continue to put up surprisingly good stats. This is, I want to say, the third week in a row where he's put up, better than you would expect numbers. So
Yeah, the Eagles' run defense wasn't bad. So the fact that he put up 53 yards and scored twice was pretty solid.
Yeah, he got the volume there with 18 carries. I mean, he didn't do a lot with it. He got in twice. 53 yards ain't a big deal, but I'm more interested to see, that he got 18 carries.
Yeah. Well,
so
they were leading a lot of this game, so that helped. But one notable thing on the Eagles side here is that Fulgham saw 5 targets, but only was able to catch one of them. I mean, I Red Zone didn't show a ton of this game because it wasn't very pretty. But I don't know if it was just the balls were uncatchable thrown to Fulgham, he was just blanketed, or if it really is, now they're getting healthy, right? Alshon was there, Rager was there, Goddard was there, Sanders was back, and so now maybe the Fulgham era is officially over. Maybe I'll give it one more week in a redraft league, but I think in DFS I'm not going anywhere near him. So
I wouldn't say that the era is over, so to speak, but they have other places to spread that ball around now. So, he may still be, their top option, at least till Ertz comes back. But, I think that it's just he's got some options now to throw to. Wentz does.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me jump into these last games, the afternoon games, all the CBS games, thanks to the Masters. Congrats to Dustin Johnson for dominating the Masters. So start here, Chargers, Dolphins. Dolphins win 29-21. Chargers just can't seem to get it done here. Dolphins are looking good, man. They're winning a lot of ball games. Offensively, man, really, this game wasn't great. There were some points. Herbert really it was kind of a, if he didn't score the rushing touchdowns or, get those 2 passing touchdowns, like, honestly, it was a really kind of bad game for him. 187 yards, 20 for 32. What do we think about Herbert going forward? Like, if he gets some tougher matchups, I don't think he's got a ton of tougher matchups going forward, but he's got a couple. I do know that. Is he not an automatic? Is he not going to be one of your targets?
The Dolphins defense is good, and I think maybe now people will, really realize that, because obviously everyone's been, all over, Herbert, and rightfully so. And so I think, seeing the Dolphins kind of put him in check is going to, put them really on everyone's radar. But he's still got tons of weapons over there.
Yeah.
If you've got him, season long, I guess it depends. You probably didn't draft him to be a starter, so I don't know what your other option would be. So you probably have another decent option to, maybe go, matchup by matchup. But DFS wise, he's you kind of have to throw him in there at least a little bit, and then when he gets a good matchup, obviously, he's going to have a good opportunity.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I pivoted away. I actually started tweaking my lineup in DFS to play him and Keenan Allen.
I wouldn't have let you. Don't worry about it.
Thankfully, I didn't do it. So I think it is very interesting again. And look, I put it out on Twitter like mid last week. I said, guys, I'm done with. It was Le'Veon Bell gone, and I put Josh Kelly on the list, man. Like, you just got passed by Kalen Ballage. Like, what? The coaches.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
The coaches do not believe you can handle this workload. I think he's a talented back, but for whatever reason, the coaches don't give him the ball enough. And we saw it today. Kalen Ballage, 18 for 68, caught 5 for 34. Kelly has 7 rushes for 21 yards. That was it. So, look, if you're still holding on hope for Josh Kelly, get rid of him. And I know running back is bad, but, dude, he's not worth it anymore.
No, he is definitely droppable.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, and that's even with Justin Jackson going on IR. So,
Yeah, and
but
no Eckler.
Yeah. So on the Dolphins side, Tua was Tua. I mean, he's still a rookie. He's gonna make some mistakes, but I mean, he was solid enough to get the win. Salvon Ahmed, 21 for 85 and a touchdown, man. If you would, I mean, this is exactly what we expected, right? I mean, Kalen Ballage and Salvon Ahmed in Week 10 of the 2020 NFL season. I mean, welcome to 2020, right?
That's not true. I expected them both to be over $1.25, so I was very disappointed.
Oh man, such a crazy season. Jakeem Grant was all right.
I gave you that one. One.
You did. You gave me the 3K play. Thank you for that. All right, let's move on here. Bills and Cardinals, the game of the day. Holy crap! Man. As we mentioned. Oh man. Honestly though, like both quarterbacks looked sloppy. At the end of the day, the DFS the fantasy points were there, but it was a sloppy game for both of them. They weren't efficient. 32 for 49 for Allen. Kyler was 22 for 32. Both in the mid 200s for passing yards. Allen had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Thankfully he ran one in also. He ran a little bit, but then he caught one. So again, like the points were there, but it wasn't a great game. Like he made some really bad throws late in the game. Kyler, had a pick. Now, granted, that pick wasn't his fault. Larry Fitz kind of popped it back up in the air when he fell on the ground with it, but he was not making the throws that he normally makes. Right. And he didn't run as much as he usually does either, but he scored twice. So like they saved their days with touchdowns, but it wasn't an efficient day. I think we'll just chalk this up to like a competitive ball game, whatever it is. On the Bills side here, the receivers balling out. Cole Beasley, Diggs, both over 10 catches. 109 yards for Beasley, 93 yards for Diggs. Brown caught 6 for 72 and got hurt, unfortunately. Ankle injury. Looked kind of bad, man. So hope Brown gets in. Cardinals, Drake's back. 16 for 100.
I don't know, man. I'm done with that motherfucker. I'm way done with him.
Yeah, he's hard to trust, man. He fumbled, dude, and it looked like he got shot out of a cannon when he fumbled, too. It's kind of crazy. But he did out-touch Edmonds. Edmonds had 11 total touches. That includes his receptions, too. So that's at least good to see. And then Hopkins, obviously, 7 for 127 and that game-winning touchdown there. Saved a lot of our butts today. So, I mean, look, we kind of expected this game to be a big offensive game, good fantasy points-wise, so not a whole lot to kind of evaluate here. But, if you want to say a couple words before we move on, go ahead. If not, we can just move.
I mean, I love Kyler Murray for DFS probably just about every week. I mean, he's got an amazing floor, and nobody has a higher ceiling. That's just my opinion. They'd have to put him up to – I don't know, 10, 11,000 before he'd start to be tough to play for me.
Yeah, I mean, are Allen and Kyler Murray with their price range where about it is? Are they like kind of your first? Are they where your eyes go to almost like one of the first quarterbacks every week?
Well, I'm a little bit different. I mean, I talk all the time on the Sunday school podcast about I prefer to pay down at quarterback. So, Drew Lock and whatnot was the guy that I was interested in this week more than most, but it's hard to not, play Kyler right now because, even if he's not doing it through the air, he's doing it on the ground. And he has an elite receiver to throw to. Kirk has been a touchdown machine. I don't like Drake coming back just because I feel like it probably hampers at least designed runs for Kyler, which, that might only cost him, maybe 15, 20 yards a game, let's just theoretically say. But, I mean, that's DFS-wise, that's 2 points. And it might sound like much, but those 2 points can make
a huge difference. Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to pay down a quarterback this year. I feel like every week I've been doing it.
I do it every week, Joe. I do it. This is the only week I didn't do it because
that's not true. You played Russ and stuff like that a bunch this year.
Well, yeah, but not my highest-owned quarterback. This was the first week where my highest-owned quarterback wasn't like in the bottom half of salaries.
Yeah.
It's just the way it worked out, just because Allen and Murray were playing each other. That had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Well, we play differently. Like you play a bunch of MMEs and stuff. I play kind of cash and stuff. So I think it's in that scenario, it's tough to pay down at quarterback, and you just want to go get that top stack and just kind of ride it. So, but speaking of Drew Lock, good thing you didn't use him a lot this week.
No, just one time.
It was bad. Drew Lock, 23 for 47, 257, a touchdown, and 4 interceptions against the Raiders. What? Come on.
They're good, man.
They're not that good.
Apparently they are.
37-12 Raiders win. Gordon 11 for 46. Meh. Judy saw 8 targets, only got 4 of them. I mean, it was a bad game on the Broncos side. Carr 16 for 25, 154. If anything, I thought this game would be a little bit high scoring on both sides. But Carr didn't have to do anything. It was all the running game. 21 for 112 and 2 touchdowns for Jacobs. Caught 4. I believe. Who's their other running back? Booker scored twice. Like, come on.
Imagine if Jacobs had 3 or 4 touchdowns,
I know, right? I probably wouldn't have fared as well in DFS had he done that because I didn't use him. I mean, look, Jacobs did this against a fairly good run defense. I mean, but we've seen this from him. Like, he gets multiple touchdowns and then he kind of disappears for a couple weeks. Like, is he going to do it again, or is he starting to hit his stride? What do you think here?
Man, he is. Yeah, I don't play Josh Jacobs on DraftKings. I just don't, because he either does this, he either gets 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, or he'll still get his 20 carries and he'll get 50 yards and no touchdowns. And he's not much of a receiver. I mean, he'll get 3-4 catches a game, but there's no yardage there. He doesn't score that way. So
no.
He's a guy that I honestly didn't even have my player pool this week. He's just not a guy.
I wasn't looking at him either. I thought it was going to be kind of a shootout game to where the receivers were really going to eat in this one, and the tight ends. I was kind of high on Waller, and then
absolutely
that didn't work out at all. So thankfully, just the way my lineup, because I only build 1 or 2 lineups, the way my lineup kind of worked out, I didn't have Waller in there. Had I built more, I probably would have had some shares of him somewhere. But
would you like to take a stab at how many lineups I had this week, Joe?
No. 27.
Do you think 27?
I don't know. 12.
Multiply that by 20.
Oh, geez.
564 lineups this week.
Oh, my gosh.
That's why when you are talking to me on Sunday and I'm like, sorry, man, I'm really busy right now.
Wow.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Moving on here. Seahawks and Rams. Rams upset, in my opinion. Big upset to me. Rams 23, Seahawks 16. It was not a pretty game for the Seahawks at all. No Chris Carson. They kind of thought they'd get him back this week. DK was shut down by Ramsey, man. I did not,
shut him down. That's what you saw.
I thought, there was talk that Ramsey wasn't going to shadow him. I kind of thought that was BS. We saw that was BS. He definitely followed him around the field. I also didn't know if Ramsey was really going to be able to shut down DK. That dude's a beast, dude.
He is the best corner in football, at least coverage-wise, period.
Yeah. I mean, he was all over and blanketed him. And it affected Russ, man. Russ, 247, two interceptions. Russ had to run a lot. He ran for 60 yards. So that's, we do get usually some rushing yards from Russ, but I don't feel like it's usually that high. You thought with DK being shut down, Lockett might be able to get more, but he was only 5 for 66, so that was pretty disappointing. And I had shares of him. On the Rams side, Goff 27 for 37, 302. The run game was in full effect, man. That's where all the points came from for the Rams. Akers, ran 10 times, so he's getting more involved. Brown scored twice. Henderson scored once. And then of all the receivers, Josh Reynolds, 8 for 94, 10 targets.
Did I give you him today? He was a guy that I was in pretty heavy.
You and Keenan both said something about him, and I was actually sort of on him too. I actually, he's another one. I swapped into him on that dynasty team I'm trying to lose with. But again, I'm going to set my best lineup, and he goes off for 8 for 94, and I was like, really?
Yeah, okay. He was 3,500 today.
Yeah, so he was another one that, I had my eyes on him, but just the way it worked out, I didn't play it. But I mean, we're just gonna chalk this one up to a bad game for Seattle, right? I mean, like, we're not worried about Russ Wilson, right?
No, that's just that Rams defense is the real deal, man. I mean, Jalen Ramsey makes such a difference. Like, he can. I mean, listen, he straight up gave DK, his absolute, floor game. So I mean, what do you think Jalen's going to do against other receivers? You know what I mean? Like, that is. I don't know that I would play anyone with confidence, going up against that Rams defense when I'm talking, cornerbacks and wide receivers.
Yeah, it was definitely a good game by the Rams defense for sure. Finish things up here, 49ers Saints win 27-13. The biggest news to come out of this one, Drew Brees got knocked out. I don't exactly know what the injury is. He came back in.
I think it was a rib or something.
Yeah, he came back in, but he couldn't finish. Winston and Taysom Hill kind of split the workload at quarterback the rest of the way. It'll be interesting if Brees has to miss time. I would assume they go to Winston as the primary quarterback, right? I can't see Taysom Hill.
I would think so.
You don't bring in Winston to go play Taysom Hill over him. So
right.
Winston's probably going to be the guy there if they have to go that way. He was off target a bunch, man. He had Michael Thomas open a few times and just missed him. It wasn't great, man. We got, typical Winston type of game. Kamara looked good, especially catching the ball out of the backfield, but scored twice on the ground, scored once in the air. So Kamara doing Kamara things. 49ers, I mean, I don't know. McKinnon actually got a lot of the workload, but that was thanks to Hasty getting knocked out, broke his collarbone super early. So, they didn't have anybody else. So, they came out and said earlier in the week that McKinnon was going to see a lot of work, and I called BS on it. But, you don't expect the other running back to get hurt first play of the game, it seemed like. Ayuk, 7 for 75 and a touch, so he looked good. I mean, the 49ers are just hard to trust all around, except for maybe Ayuk, right?
Well, yeah, when he's able to play, he seems like,
right.
He's the real deal. But I guess, I don't know. I guess I was off on Ayuk this week just because I thought Lattimore would shut him down.
Lattimore hasn't really shut down a lot of people this year.
Well, he shut down Mike Evans last week.
He always shuts down Mike Evans. That's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, Lattimore's a good corner. And I don't know, maybe I guess I don't know enough about the Saints defense to know that, he was shadowing Ayuk. He might not have done that at all. But that was my thought process, was just with everyone injured and with Lattimore there, I figured he would, be covering Ayuk. So I had a couple shares of James. I think I did slide one of Ayuk in there, but it wasn't intentional.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, so what's your thoughts on this, on the Saints receivers going forward if Brees has to miss time?
It actually, for fantasy purposes, might make things better. I mean, just to remember Winston, trucking that ball all over the place in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that was a different scenario, though, man. That defense was garbage, and they kind of had to, right?
And the little bit that we saw of Jameis, he definitely seemed like he was more, playing, in the offense as opposed to just, chucking around like we're used to him seeing. But we definitely see more deeper passes. I can almost guarantee that. I mean, that's the one thing that Brees doesn't do, is throw the ball downfield, and that is, even if it's to his detriment, that is Jameis's, strongest suit. So I don't know, man. They won't be as efficient, and I don't know how Michael Thomas would, do in that scenario, because we've never really. Well, it's been a little while since we've really seen that from him. So I don't know. I don't know that a whole ton changes, other than maybe they lean a little bit more on, Kamara and Murray.
Yeah, I wonder though if Kamara gets hurt a little bit, just because, like you said, Winston likes to check it downfield, and that's not Kamara's thing, right? Kamara's going to get the little dump down pass. But I think I think ultimately the coaching staff there will be smart enough to tell Winston, hey, this is our offense. You're running it too bad. And this play is going to Kamara. You're giving him the damn ball.
Right.
So, yeah, I think you're playing your studs out of that offense. Michael Thomas doesn't really look like he's fully back and fully healthy yet. He hasn't really been integrated back into that offense 100%, it looks like. So it sucks for those owners because you're probably plugging him in redraft leagues because if you don't, he's going to blow up for like 3 touchdowns. So,
Yeah.
all right, man. Well, we are halfway through the third quarter here, about 6 minutes to go. New England up 23-10. Shocker. I did not expect this at all, though it is pouring in New England here. So slowing down the Ravens maybe just enough to make the New England Patriots viable here. So, and they are maybe they're as pissed as Tampa was for getting embarrassed last week. So, all right, well, that's all we got. Good luck to those of you who need some Sunday night and Monday night help, and we will talk to y'all next week.